50b2, the question was, can you make the menorah out of other metals, or out of wood? Can the menorah only be made out of a metal? He said the Torah says you have to make it out of gold, but the question is, if you don't have gold, I mean, can you use some other material besides gold? So we said it depends on how you interpret the pasuk. So on 50b3, we said, or if we look at 50b, the bottom of 50b2, the Gemara says, "Good morning. How do you learn the pasuk when it talks about menorah? Rebbe Dorish Klali Prati. Rebbe darshans the klal prat, the general rule, and then the specific rule. And Rabbi Yosef Yehuda now on 50b3, just running through what we said yesterday. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Dorish Ribuya Mute. He understands it's not he doesn't expound as a klal prat. Rather, he expounds it as a ribuy and miut. What does that mean? So the Gemara explains. Rebbe Dorish Klali Prati. Rebbe, he analyzes the psukim in a form of the method of called klal, which is a general rule, prat, a specific rule. V'asita menoras. The Torah says you shall make a menorat. It could have zahav. It could have said v'asita zahav menorah. It says menorat is a general. The Torah says you can make a menorah, which would indicate klal, indicate a general rule. You make a menorah, a candelabra, the Beit HaMikdash, which could imply any type of material. But then it says, Zahav Tahar has been made out of pure gold, which is a prat, which the prat means exactly the specific item that's specified is identifying what the Torah means when it says, I want you to make a menorah. What kind of menorah? It comes to explains it needs to be gold. If it would have stopped over there, the menorah would only be kosher if it's gold. But you know what? The Torah didn't just say just a general statement, menorah, and then end with the statement gold. It said menorah, gold, and then again it said a general statement of menorah. And then it says, Miksheh te'aseh menorah. Says it should be beaten from one piece of gold, they made the menorah. It wasn't that you took different branches, you made the branches separately, then you glued, tied, or melted and molded the branches to the menorah. Rather, everything came from that one piece. And the Torah could have written, Miksha te'aseh, you should make it beaten from one piece. Why does it have to mention the word again, menorah? It's another generalization. Chazav v'kalal. Klal, prat, uklal. So we have now assignment, a general statement, menorah, then a specific statement of gold, and then we went again general to say not specifically gold. So what is that coming to teach us? It's coming to teach us it doesn't have to be only gold, but it has to be similar to gold. It has to be metal. Klal, prat, uklal. The fact that the Torah went, Ralph, it's clear what we're saying over here? The fact that the Torah writes something in such a fashion, it first generalizes, then it gets specific, and then it generalizes again. The fact that it does in such a fashion is showing you, I don't mean only gold. If I meant just gold, they stop after I get specific. Why do I go ahead and say, then I go ahead and again, I generalize to tell you anything that's similar to gold. That's what it says. What do you say? Like Rabbi Yishmael, beautiful. Like Simon is saying, we say, but b'shlosha midot haTorah nidreshet behem, right? Right before the Kaddish. It's the Ashkenazim, we used to say it right before the Kaddish, and the Sfardim also. It's right before the Kaddish is but the first Kaddish were really right, correct. Right, it's by the Sfardim. It's not directly before the first Kaddish, You see, it's interesting in this sitter, in the Magen Avram sitter, it says you would say right after Rabbi Shmuel, you would say who have been Toma Omer Haviaz Kinema Kal Kanesha Rotz Katzvi, to do the will of Hashem. Then they say Hiratzam Lefanecha Tivna Beit Hamikdash, and if there's a minyan, there's Kaddish, and then Hodu. But the custom here is they don't do that. They only they only do Rav Chanan ben Akasha Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then they say the Kaddish. So this is something early on, Ralph. And in Rabbi Shmuel Omer, he has this rule, like Simon says. He says one of the 13 ways the Torah is expounded, and we have rule number 4 and rule number 6 are two of the rules that we have here and we're learning today. We get 2 out of 13. Rule number 4 is klal uprat. If there's a general statement followed by a specific statement, so the specific statement is clarifying that's what we mean by the general statement, nothing more, nothing less, exactly what the specific statement that follows. And then we have rule number 6 is when you have a general statement and you have a specific statement followed by a specific statement and then again a general statement, then you judge it. Do you go after the general? Do you go after similar to the middle? What's similar to the middle, which is exactly what we're doing today. What is similar to the middle? The middle is gold. So what's similar to it is other metals, but it will exclude wood. And therefore you will not be able to make a menorah out of wood. I think the Rambam writes that you cannot make the menorah out of wood. Now, right, that's the other opinion. Exactly. That we're getting up to there in a second. That's the other opinion. But the first opinion, if you expound it as a general, specific, and then general, then it means being similar to the specific. Now, so the Gemara says, klal uprado klal, what about the bottom of 50b3? Klal, prado, klal, and the first column, done prat, similar to the specific middle statement. Mahaprat mifurasha matechet, just like you see the last few lines on 50b3, Simon, on the last few lines of column 1, 50b3. Mahaprat mifurasha matechet, the middle specific statement that was in the middle, that was crunched between the sandwich, the middle of the sandwich, the deli in the middle of the rye bread sandwich, right? What was talking about metal. So af kol matcha matechet, also, and it has to be metal, but not wood. But comes Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, what does he say? He says, Hidarish ribuye umiyute. He expounds it not as he doesn't expound it as general, specific general. Rather, he holds he interprets this pasuk as a ribui and miute and ribui. Va'asita menorat, it says va'asita menorat riba. That is including. When it says the word va'asita menorah, it's coming to include. And now, I'm just looking at the language of the Rashi for a second. Now, let's see. Yeah. So he says that when it says Masita Menorah Riba, Riba means it includes it mentions everything. Then when you say Zahav Tahar, Zahav Tahar is not coming to explain. When it says the specific item in the middle, it's not coming to explain what do I mean by menorah, it has to be gold. Rather, it comes to exclude only. See, the first opinion says if I say a general statement, he expounds general and specific, that the second statement says the only thing that you would be able to do is gold, And then we need the third statement, the third generalization to bring back not only gold, you could even do some metals. But this opinion says no. When it says menorah, it's coming to include everything. And then when it comes to say, when it says gold, gold is coming to say not everything, not everything, but not, I'm not coming to say, but you can't make it out of only gold. I'm not going to say it's only gold. I'm saying you can't do everything. You can't only make it out of you can't make the menorah out of any material. There's something that you're restricted. There's some limitation. It doesn't have to be only gold, but it can't be everything. And then when it comes, the second ribui again, when it comes again and it includes more, so what? So it's coming to include anything. It's coming to include a large amount of stuff. So therefore, it's bringing back, in a certain sense, the whole gamut of stuff you could include, except because we have something that we're excluding because of the middle exclusion that says gold, and therefore it's coming to exclude at least something, which would be the most furthest away, which would be wood. So that's what he says. He says, Vasita menorah, it says you make it out of menorah, riba. Riba means any material. Make a menorah. Doesn't say what. What kind of material? Anything. Zahav tahar, when it says gold, miyat. It's coming to say there's something that you can't make it out of. It can't be just any material. But it's coming to exclude. But then it says miksha te'asa menorah chazav riba. Then it's coming back. It's bringing back to include a lot of stuff. So riba umiyut, riba hakol. So it comes to include everything. So my riba, meaning virtually everything. So my riba komili. So it's pretty much, it's including everything, including wood. So my miyit, so what is it coming to exclude? Miyit shacheres, like you said, it's coming to exclude if it's made out of earthenware. That if a menorah is made out of earthenware seems to, it's not like silver, it's not like gold, it's not even like wood. The way it's not something that's so nice. And the clay, after you burn it, it burns. It doesn't look too good, right? Might have other issues of its beauty, and therefore everybody agrees that will be invalid. And how do you know that's invalid? Because the Torah gave some sort of specification by saying gold, and then adding other things is telling us there is some limitation. The Torah didn't just say make a menorah out of any material. By using the word gold, it taught us that the Torah, there is some type of material that it has to be, and something that, and if it's not that, it won't work. And since the Torah, if the Torah would have just said make it out of menorah, and it would have been including everything, and then it would just say gold and stop there. So I would think you would exclude from there, you would exclude wood. You can't make it out of wood, most probably you would exclude. But you would include other metals. That's what I would right, the last thing before earthenware, right? So that's what I would right. Anything that would be like the prat, right? Anything that would be like that's what it would seem like. That if it would have stopped right there, according to this opinion, you would have excluded wood, but you would have still done all the metals. But now that you put another inclusion, but you said menorah again, that's we're bringing back wood. Wood would be fine, but earthenware would not be good. Amar Rapapa. Rapapa says, Kitanoi. We're now on Nun Aleph Amar Aleph. 51, 51a. Kitanoi. This is the machloket Tanoim. What we just spoke about until now is a machloket Tanoim. If you want, we could go ahead and take out, I could take out the Rambam to see more about this, these halachot. The Rambam, the Rambam has a section of halacha called Beit HaBechira. Right, Beit HaBechira, that's the place where the chosen place, the Beit HaMikdash, where we got to go ahead and go to bring the Beit HaMikdash. By the way, this week's parsha, we're talking about the Beit HaMikdash, we're talking about the menorah. The Torah says, "Umikdashi tira'u." You have to have certain reverence for the Mikdash, the holy Beit HaMikdash. You can't do certain things that are, you can't spit over there, and there's certain things, things that are, you have to act with a certain dignity and holiness. I mean, I don't recommend spitting anywhere, but you understand there's certain things that you can't do, act in certain ways in the Beit HaMikdash, a certain awe. And by the way, that also applies today for non-Beit HaMikdash. I'm sorry, we don't have a Beit HaMikdash. This is not a Beit HaMikdash, but it's called a Beit HaMikdash Ma'at. It's called a mini Beit HaMikdash. A shul, a synagogue is a mini Beit HaMikdash. Therefore, there are similar halachot, how we act in a shul. We're not supposed to be talking idle chatter. Not supposed to be talking. We heard one of the rabbis say, don't talk about the scores in the synagogue. You want to talk about the scores, go out in the hallway. It's a holy place. The conversation, the way you act. You don't do certain things in a synagogue because it's a holy place. So in the Rambam in chapter 1, in Law 18, in Hilchot Beit HaBechira, he says the menorah and the things, the utensils that are used with the menorah, the holy menorah in the Beit HaMikdash, and the shulchan, the table in the Beit HaMikdash, where you had the lechem hapanim, you had the bread on the table, the kelav umizbeh haktoret, and the whole kli sharet, all the ministering utensils, which our Gemara discussed before. We had a question: can you make the utensils out of wood, right, or it has to be out of metal? So the Rambam Eino Sinotan Ela Min Matechet Bavad. It has to be made out of metal. Meaning, even though we said that you should ideally make the menorah out of gold, but but technically it will also be kosher, right? If it's made out of any metal. But if you made it out of wood, the Rambam says, or bone material, or stone material, or glass material, it is invalid. It's not valid. How do you like that, Ralph? You made the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash out of glass. Glass menorahs. You ever see glass menorahs?
So an ice menorah.
An ice menorah.
And they lighting it.
Oh, okay.
About on the 42nd, every year they carving on the spot ice.
Right, but since it's not the Beit HaMikdash, good morning. It's not the Beit HaMikdash. It's the street. It's not in the whole, right. In the Beit HaMikdash, they would not be able to make a. And so the Rambam says the following. The Rambam says, what if the people of the Kahal, if the community was poor, and they're building the Beit HaMikdash and they're making these materials, they can make it even out of tin. Tin was probably from the lower metals, a lower metal. If they become wealthy, they can make it out of gold. And even and all the different things, and he says the different types of, even the spigots and all different things that they use, if you could certain things for the ola, if there's ability in the tzibur, the community has a financial ability, they should make it out of gold. And he says that even the gates of the courtyard, listen to this, it's a fascinating thing, everybody. The gates of the courtyard of the Beit HaMikdash, I think there were 7 gates. If they had the ability, they would cover the gates with gold plated. Now, what's the idea? Why are we going so far to make the gates of the courtyard out of gold? Is that a good question, everybody? Ralph, is that a good question? And I think the idea is because when the Sefer Chinuch explains, we want to give honor to the Beit HaMikdash. We want the experience to be a inspiring experience, and you come to a place and you see it's made out of gold. The gates are made out of gold. I think there's a shul, there's a synagogue. I think the Belza synagogue. Anyone ever, Simon, you ever go by the Belz? The big Belz synagogue. It's like gigantic. You can see it from afar. I wonder if it's also, I don't know if it's plated with gold, but maybe it's fake gold, just for beautification purposes. Wow, it's something, and you, not because you see it's not a show off of wealth. Rather, it's just that it should inspire the people when you see such a thing. How beautiful it is. The Rambam continues that when you make the utensils, from the beginning, you have to make it l'shem hakodesh. You have to make the utensil for the Shem HaKodesh, for Hashem. You can't go ahead, right, Simon? If a person goes ahead, right, Ralph, if a person goes ahead and you want to go ahead and make a menorah, and let's say let's say a person says, I started making the menorah for myself, then I decide, you know what, I want to donate the menorah for the Beit HaMikdash. I was making the menorah, I had a craftsman, an artisan making the menorah for me. And at a certain point in the production, they said, you know what, let them use it in the Beit HaMikdash. So the Rambam says, you can't do that. The way you're supposed to do it is the utensils. All the utensils in the Beit HaMikdash, from the beginning of the manufacturing of the utensil, is supposed to be made with the intent for the Mikdash. Not that I'm making it for a person and then I change. It was probably also, right? It's not respectful, Ralph, right? That if you go ahead and you start making for an individual, and then now you're making it, now you want to transfer it after it for the Beit HaMikdash. It's much more respectful, most probably, that it was originally made with the intention, and like the Shem mitzvah, like you do something, like you make the matzah, the Shem mitzvah matzah here, you're making the item specifically for the Beit HaMikdash. And if it was made originally for an individual, you can't use it for the Beit HaMikdash. Now, okay, so that's a little bit interesting. So the Rambam continues, just interesting in the Rambam, maybe some interesting Rambam to share with everybody. He says, that we have a tradition that the place that David HaMelech and Shlomo built the Mizbeach, when they built the Mizbeach in Goren Arona, that's the same place that Avram built his altar, and there was Akidas Yitzchak, the tying of Yitzchak. That's the place that Noach built an altar when he came out of the ark. That is the Mizbeach that Cain veHevel brought a korban, and that's what Adam HaRishon brought. That's the same place where he brought the korban when he was created. And Hamaria, exactly.
Adam.
And Adam, we made him. He built the Mizbeach there.
Was it the Garden of Eden?
Yeah, but
wasn't it further north, like where Syria is?
Here he says that's the same place.
In Israel at the time?
Yeah, he's saying that Noach was exactly. Noach was Israel, and Cain and Hevel. you know, so that's,
Because it was when Abraham came into Israel, then it became Canaan or Eretz Ibrim or whatever.
But
one at a time.
but it says this is the same spot. So they were all in that same spot. Okay. Okay. Very interesting, right? That they all use that same mizbeach. Noach, Adam, Cain, Hevel, Abraham, David, Shlomo, that
anything from Abraham on, yes.
right. But he's saying even before, and he's saying, and we know Yitzchak did not leave the Holy Land. Right, Yitzchak wasn't a Har Maria, like you said. But he's saying even from Adam, and it makes sense because of the holiness of Eretz Israel. That's where Adam should be. Adam should be in Eretz Israel. That's what things that happen. That's the thing. That's the place that things are happening. Adam.
The heaven was like the Prat and the Hidekel up north, whatever Syria is today.
I don't know. We know Adam was so, how tall, how great. It's hard. He was very tall. How far he expanded. But okay, but that's something interesting. The Rambam talks about. Now, the pasuk says the following. The Gemara says the following. Amar Papa Ketanoi. Now we're on 51a. Like if we had this idea that we were discussing is the main song when the Levium, when Ralph had to sing, when Ralph had the responsibility of song in the Beit HaMikdash, does it have to be, what is included in his directive? Is included in that music? Is music a key element of song that the Levium were responsible, that when Hashem says to Levium, you have to go ahead and sing? Does it mean you have to also, part of that is the musical instruments, and therefore it would mean that the Levium would have to go ahead and play the musical instruments? Or is it no? It's just the main responsibility of the Levium is the peh, is to sing. But you do not have to go ahead and what? And the musical instruments are just an accompaniment. It's not a key factor. And if it's not a key factor, so therefore, technically, it would be kosher without any musical instruments. And if that would be the case, right? That was the discussion of the Gemara. The Gemara said the ramifications would be: can you play the musical instruments on Shabbat? That's what the Gemara wanted to say. The ramifications. That's what one rabbi wanted to say is the ramifications of that law. Is whether the musical instruments can be played on Shabbat is dependent on whether it's a key element in the song or it's not a key element in the song. I want to share also, we have the Rambam open. There's a beautiful Rambam that I saw where he describes the tribe of Levi. First of all, in honor of Ralph, maybe we'll do this a little bit. He says, Zaro Levi, the family of the Leviim, they're all moved out, they are separated, they are designated Lavodat HaMikdash, to serve in the Beit HaMikdash. And it's a mitzvah aseh, it's one of the 613 mitzvot for the Leviim to be ready and available to serve in the Mikdash, whether they like it or not. Meaning it's not that, you know what, I'm giving you Leviim a mitzvah to serve in the Mikdash if you want it. You could serve. If you don't want it, if you want to pass, it's not something that you could just say, I want to pass. Then you're not doing your responsibility. Oh, so what are your responsibilities? Let's see what your responsibility. We're going to get to it in a moment. He says, and he says if a Levi says I'm going to follow all the responsibilities of a Levian, except one thing I'm not gonna be involved with, I'm not gonna do. You don't accept until he says I'm gonna do everything. Accept everything. And they're now in this job description for the Levium. They should guard the Mikdash. They should guard the Mikdash. And among them, there should be people that will open the gates, close its doors, and there's those that would be the singers to sing on the korban. Not every, so he's saying not everybody. You didn't have everybody singing. Some people will take care of the gate, security. Some people would. And then more the security is more for the honor, not as much as so much that they were worried about safety. It's just honorable. They have someone in front of the building, and they would sing on the offering every day, on the korban every day. And every time they brought when the community brought a korban olah, a offering that the community had to bring, like the daily offering in the morning, daily offering in the evening, in the afternoon, they would go ahead, and that was some of the time that they would sing. When would they sing? At the time that they would when they would bring the offering, while they were and they would pouring the wine on the mizbeach. But now, only on certain offerings, certain communal offerings, not all communal offerings. Now, then he says that there's a minimum of 12 Levium standing every day by their platform. There's a platform for the Levium that's called Levium B'Duchanam. They had their platform. Minimum of 12 Levium singing by the Korban. You can have as many Levium as you want. You want to have 1,000 Levium, 1,000 vocalists. There's no max on how many Levium. And the Levium sing with their mouths, but the Rambam takes the position, like the Gemara, that the main song is with your mouth. Same way with our heart, we have to pray with our heart. You have to sing with your mouth and not with your music. That's not the main idea, having music. Other people, so it sounds like the Levium, you would not be able to be playing a musical instrument and sing at the same time. You have to be singing. Other people would be playing musical instruments. Some of those people could be Levium. Some of them were Levium. Some of them were Yisraelim. We're going to learn more about that. But Yisraelim, that their lineage, there was no question about their lineage. And also there was about, there was no issues. Their children their daughters would be able to marry Kohanim. We're talking about people that were high level lineage. And anybody who is playing the instruments can't count as a 12. You need a 12 soloist, 12 Levium without instruments. And then he says they would what were the instruments? There was flutes, there was harps, there was trumpets, other instruments. You had to have you had a minimum of 2 flutes. You couldn't have more than 12 flutes. A minimum of 2 trumpets. You can't have more than 120. You have a minimum of 9 harps, and you can have as many harps as you want. And he discusses other utensils. We should merit soon to have the Beit HaMikdash back, and we'll have a big band. We'll have the singers. Keep your voice good, Ralph. Make sure you're working on it. No, you got more jobs, Ralph. Singing, taking care of security, guarding the place.